Hello, my name is Christine Jacinto, and today we'll be reviewing Chapter 1, Introduction to Business Process Management. What is business process management? Business process management doesn't focus on individual activities performed. It is about managing entire processes for a business. Processes are entire chains of events, activities, and decisions that ultimately add value to the organization. It is what companies do when delivering a service or product to clients. In many organizations, there are usual processes that are many oftentimes examples present. One of them is order to cash. Order to cash is handled by the vendor. It starts with a customer order and it ends after delivery and payment. It includes steps like order verification, shipment, invoicing, and acknowledgement. We also have quote to order. Quote to order begins with the supplier receiving a request for quote, also known as an RFQ, and ends when a customer places a purchase order, transitioning to the order to cash process. Together, they form a quote to cash process. Procure to pay. That starts with identifying the need to purchase and ends after delivery and payment. It involves obtaining quotes, approving purchases, selecting suppliers, issuing orders, and paying invoices. Complements the supplier's quote to cash process and B2B contexts. We also have issue to resolution. Issue to resolution is triggered by a customer complaint or problem. It concludes when the issue is resolved to mutual agreement. It also includes insurance claim processes, claim to resolution. Finally, we have application to approval. That begins with an application for benefits or privileges and ends with approval or denial. Common in scenarios like permits, licenses, and university admissions. Within business processes, there can encompass many factors. There's events. Those are things that have no duration and happen atomically. For example, a piece of equipment arrives at a restaurant. There's also activities. Those take time and can be triggered by events. When an activity is simple and can be measured as one unit of work, it's called a task. For example, when the equipment arrives at the restaurant, the manager catalogs it. There's also decision points. Those are points in time when a decision is made and affects the way that a process is executed. There's also actors. Those include humans, organizations, or software systems representing them. Those can be internal or external. Internal actors, those are also called process participants, operate where process is executed inside the organization. Meanwhile, external actors, also known as business party, work outside of the organization. Along with these, we also have physical objects. Those cover equipment, materials, products, and paper documents. In addition to that, there's informational objects. Those refer to electronic documents and records. And finally, we have outcomes. Those are the results of the execution of a process. Customers consume the output and the outcome. Here we can see in Figure 1.1 the ingredients of a business process. So this is essentially a diagram of what I just highlighted for you. We have the business process, the actors and objects that are involved in the business process, as well as different event, activities, and decision points that also are part of the business process. In fact, business process consists of these. Um, in addition to this, in the diagram, we have how the business process delivers an outcome, and you can either have a positive or negative outcome. That's where you find the value. And the value is determined by the customer satisfaction and fulfillment. Some related disciplines to business process management, or BPM, are total quality management, operations management, lean, Six Sigma, and overall summary of these. Essentially, what we have here in TQM is that it emphasizes a continuous improvement of products and services and quality. While TQM focuses on products and services, BPM centers more on improving the processes that create them. TQM is more common in manufacturing, while BPM leans towards service organizations. In operations management, that entails technical and physical aspects of production, often optimizing existing processes through techniques like probability theory and queuing theory. Unlike BPM, operations management focuses on controlling current processes. On the other hand, lean also originates in manufacturing. Lean aims to eliminate waste and maximize customer value. BPM incorporates lean principles, but it takes a more broader approach, and it emphasizes the role of information technology in achieving process consistency. Six Sigma centers on minimizing defects, and it measures process outputs, especially in quality. It's often used alongside other approaches such as lean. BPM adopts many Six Sigma techniques for systematic process improvement. Overall, BPM integrates different things from these related disciplines. They're a bit different, but BPM does still employ many similar factors that they all share. When it comes to the history behind business process management, we can see how in prehistoric times, the workforce was more generally focused on general skills and capabilities, and the focus of workers pretty much focused on the entire process of all products. And then as we move along through the ages, through ancient times and Middle Ages, we see how the worker's capabilities become an intermediate specialist, and the entire process for a single product is the worker's focus. However, in industrial times, we see how the worker's focus is based primarily on a single part of a process for a single product. We also see that the worker's capabilities are more inclined towards a pure specialist. And we see this because in industrial times, companies grew larger. There was less of a focus on artisan or workers that had to know every single factor and every single process for an entire company or entire production line. Generally, workers focus on a more specialized lens and they can focus more specifically on different kinds of processes, especially if a system is very complex. With this in mind, we can talk a little bit about the business process management lifecycle. So, before applying the BPM lifecycle, one needs to ask, which business processes do we aim to improve? It's important to ask this question and to understand which operational problems need to be addressed by changing business processes. This understanding is more easily met by increased process thinking. Process thinking places emphasis on steps in a process and not just the outcome. In Figure 1.7, we can see the BPM life cycle. We start with process identification, move on to process discovery, then move to process analysis, onwards to process redesign, moving on to process implementation, and onwards to process monitoring. Finally, you move back towards the cycle, towards process discovery. And you keep asking yourself questions on how to improve different processes in order to increase efficiency. So let's dive a little bit deeper into the specific steps of the life cycle. In process identification, we identify and map processes that are relevant to a business problem, resulting in a process architecture that outlines relationships between processes. This guides process selection for the remaining lifecycle phases and is often done alongside performance measure identification. When you move on to process discovery, that's when you document the current state of processes through as-is process models. Onwards to process analysis, where you identify, document, and quantify processes using performance measures. Issues are prioritized based on their impact and required effort for resolution. In the process redesign phase, you propose and evaluate changes to address identified issues and meet performance goals. Selected changes are combined into a to-be process model. In process implementation, you execute changes to transition from as-is to to-be processes. This involves organizational change management and IT system automation. Finally, in the process monitoring phase, you collect and analyze data to evaluate process performance, address bottlenecks, and make corrective actions. This phase ensures continuous improvement. With business process management, one other thing to keep in mind are stakeholders involved. First, we have the management team. That comprises of roles like the CEO, COO, CPO, CIO, and CFO. They're responsible for overseeing processes, initiating redesigns, and providing strategic resources. The HR director is essential for processes with many participants. There's also process owners. Those are accountable for managing specific processes, ensuring smooth daily operations, meeting performance goals, and driving improvements. They also provide guidance to participants. Process participants execute daily tasks following company standards and support process discovery, analysis, and redesign under the direction of process owners. Process analysts specialize in identifying, analyzing, and redesigning processes. They coordinate implementation and monitoring while liaising between management and participants. Their expertise spans business and IT. Process methodologists offer expert advice on methods, tools, and techniques, while providing technical training to analysts. Those are found in large-scale BPM projects. Meanwhile, system engineers convert process requirements into system designs, handling implementation, testing, and deployment. They ensure systems align with process needs and may involve contractors. With the BPM group, or the Center of Excellence, they maintain BPM expertise, a process architecture, and documentation. They support stakeholders and align BPM efforts with strategic goals, commonly found in large organizations with a significant BPM experience. Given all this information, we can understand how business process management is important. When processes are designed well, quality and efficiency of service can increase. A company can outperform another if it executes business processes better. This can be done by having a clear understanding of working processes and narrowing down what needs to change using tools like the BPM lifecycle.